Everybody, it's me, Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 Hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally, and further strengthen your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant based diet going for yourself today and nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further balance out your physical body's pH level and get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity. Sending me some love telepathically. Set attention to your mind and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You are now tuning in to great days. So today or this evening, I'm gonna talk on false identities and traumas. Okay, and I'm gonna get into a little bit healing trauma and how to dissolve away false identification. Okay, so let's get into this. So false IDs or false identifications come very very simply with conditionings. Okay, conditionings actually make way for false identifications. Okay, and what these are is pretty much you are identifying yourself with something which you are not. Okay, and this is all a false identification is. And most people have the problem of identifying themselves in a falsehood. Okay, so you have to understand that dissolving away false identities is as simple as distancing yourself from the ideal of identification and allowing that distance to bring in some resonation with the space and allow that to help you realize that whatever you were previously identified with is just illusion, okay? Because it's conceptual. So basically, what this means, what I'm trying to say, is that the false identification that you're carrying right now, you can carry many false identifications. Okay, you can carry multiple, and you can attach yourself with these false identifications. And the attachment of these false identifications can cause great suffering to you. Okay, and they can even come from traumatic experience. Okay, which is why I want to talk a little bit on healing the trauma or the traumatic experiences that these can emanate from. So, uh, so these false identifications are pretty much, once again, they're just you identifying yourself with something which you are not. Okay, usually you're thinking you are something, but that is false. Okay, that is not actually what or who you are. Okay, because that's just a thought. Who you think you are to be is not actually who you are because you're only thinking yourself to be, which you are not. Okay, you're not to be because you don't actually exist. And conceptually, all of what you identify yourself with conceptually is only illusory because conceptual reality in itself is an illusion. So the false identifications that you are carrying and you are attaching yourself to throughout your life and causing you great suffering and damage can be dissolved away through distancing yourself from the very false identifications that you have attached yourself with. And this involves being able to come to know the false identifications. All right. And this is going to have you involve yourself in some type of observation of the false identifications. Right. So you think you are somebody, you think you're a particular person, you think you're this, you think you are identifying yourself with something, right? Whatever that may be, you're carrying an identification. It is a false identification because of conditioning, societal conditioning usually gives us false identifications because the conditioning isn't for the harmoniousness of nature and your true organic living, but more so it's for egotistical living and consumeristic living and it's for capita. It's for disharmonious living, right? So the conditioning that is for disharmonious living is only conditioning into you a false identification, and that conditioning you are living within, and you are thinking you're somebody which you aren't actually. Okay, and only in thinking you're somebody within this identification, you are creating suffering, because you're entangling yourself with an illusory concept which has been given to you. You know, you aren't you're just getting entangled in the culture, basically. You know, and that culture is imprinting images, and you're identifying with those images of yourself, but those images aren't actually who you are, because those are just thoughts, and what you actually are is your entire organism. You know, so when you're thinking you are an image that has been given to you, you're entangling yourself. This is karma, and you're getting deeply entangled in the karma, and then it creates suffering, you know, because you're attaching yourself with a identification that is false. How to to get a true identification? Well, you need to go through the process of distancing yourself from the ID that you're carrying right now. You know, you got to distance yourself from who you think you are to be as right now, and then from there you got to have an experience that is going to give you a much more truer and authentic identification, which is going to be an organic one. It's not going to be like an artificial sequencing, you know, of condition that keeps you in the physical body, because you're not a physical being, and nobody is, but you're being kept in the physical because it's part of societal lifestyle, you know. So we're being our consciousness is pretty much kept within a certain dimension, which is the physical, and maybe the mind, and a little bit more, you know, but then that's it. But it's infinite in its nature, and that's who you actually are, and that's what you need to be identifying with. If you want any identification, it's got to be more authentic to your organism rather than your ego, you know. And your ego has been given to you, you know, and the ego is a very small entity. It thrives off of fear, and it thrives off of attachment. It thrives off of arguing. It thrives off of very, very lower frequency experience, or lower vibration, you know. But your organism, who you actually are, is much higher than the ego as an entity, you know. So you got to the ego is the false identification, and you can have multiple as well. So it's pretty much dissolving away the ego, and you got to understand to watch the ego, observe the ego very, very attentively, 24/7, because the ego will do anything it can to get you out of your love, you know, because it is thriving off of fear. So it'll put you out of your love just to have you come into fear, you know. And you got that's a very false identification, and it's not who you actually are. So you want to dissolve this away, and all it takes is observation. You got to observe the identifications that you have attached yourself with, and you got to continue in that process until you can create distance through the observation. And as you distance through that observation process, then you can start having more more holistic experience, which in that holistic experience, you're going to be able to realize a more authentic identity, which is closer to your organism rather than an image, that has been given to you, which is making you sick as well. The false identifications is making you very, very sick, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Okay, so this can also come from trauma. I wanted to talk a little bit on healing trauma, because the false identifications can come from trauma, and the traumas can very much come from culture itself as well, or even society. But everybody has traumatic experiences. This is a part of life. When you're born, you're already in trauma. There's birth traumas. So everybody has trauma, right? But this trauma can actually lead us to the false identifications that we have in our teens and in our adulthood. So once you start observing the identifications, or once you start observing the false egos or the false identifications, and you start creating that distance, and you go deeper into the observation of what that false identification is, to dissolve it and complete, then you're gonna get to a depth where you're understanding that a lot of it can come from traumatic experiences. And then you start getting into how to heal traumatic experiences, and usually this involves connecting with other people. Since we all have traumatic experiences, then you can literally allow the Tao to take its course, and you can connect with people through the Tao, through the universal flow. And usually this is going to have you connect with somebody who has a very similar trauma to you. And in like a puzzle piece, it kind of fits perfectly. And then it can actually help you heal on a very, very intimate level, you know. So a lot of the healing of trauma can come from just trusting the flow of the universe, or the Tao. But we all do have trauma, so you can literally find and connect with people just to maybe see if they can help you to heal your traumas, you know. But a lot of us share the same traumas as well, and this is only because a lot of the traumatic experiences that we're dealing with in our childhood are coming from the societal way of life. This is why we all have the same. That's why we all go through the same things, because uh, it's like they're trying to breed a certain thing in people, and this involves an involvement of a similar traumatic experience throughout the mass, so it's kind of like they're trying to create a certain thing, and this is why the traumas that we all have are so similar. And all you need to do to heal the traumas is connect with other people. Or maybe what would be even better is to continue that observation, going even deeper and understanding that it's all love, okay? Which it is. If it's fear, then it's still a false identification, because at this point your organism it has enough knowledge to know that that all is love, okay? Because all is energy, and that's the truth of it. You can't change the truth. All lies will be eventually abolished away, because lies aren't held up because they don't actually exist. Lies are truth spoken in fear, okay? So lies won't hold up because you can easily see the truth, and that's all there is truth, okay? So you can see through people's intentions if you are a very observant person. Even if they're lying, you can see the truth being spoken through, because the lie is just truth spoken through fear. They're afraid to be truthful, so it's just lies, but the truth is right there, just a little skewed. Now, healing the trauma is something that you eventually got to do for yourself, and healing is literally understanding. So all you got to do is understand the trauma, right? You just got to observe the trauma, and in observing it, you then come to understand it, and in understanding it, you then come to know about it, and then you come to know thyself. And knowing thyself is the power that is needed to invest in your healing. Very, very simple. Okay, so um, forming new identities, you need to go through the process of realizing that you have false identities in the first place. Then once you have that triggering realization that you are carrying false identities, then you can get the drive to be able to understand those false identifications, and then you're going to start observing the false IDs from there. And then once observing them, you're going to distance yourself from them, and then you're going to be able to go into forming new, more authentic identifications. Okay, and it does involve also going through your traumas. It involves opening yourself up vibrationally, which is going to reveal a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it right there. It's gonna be it for today's video, or this evening's video. I do thank everybody for watching. Peace out, one love, and have a great evening.